Ever find yourself lost when you see terms like sun sign, moon sign, birth charts, etc.? No worries, I got you. By the end of this video, you'll be the one giving astrology lessons to other people. Hola my beautiful lotus flowers, and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. If you love nerding out on everything astrology, spirituality, and fantasy, this is a community for you. I've actually had a few people on my Instagram ask me different astrology related questions before, and they become so happy when I finally clarify something they'd previously been so confused about. So I figured, why don't I make astrology videos that will make it so much easier to understand and more fun to learn astrology? So let's go ahead and get right into the information you're waiting for. Let's start from the very basics of the zodiac. That way you can understand everything we're referring to later on in this video. Let's start with the solar system that we belong to, that the zodiac is based on. The solar system we belong to is called the Milky Way, as I'm sure many of you are aware of. And in the Milky Way, the sun is at the center of 9 planets that orbit around the sun at their own pace. So those 9 planets, from closest to farthest to the sun, go Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, just side note, Pluto is no longer officially considered a planet in modern day astronomy, but for the sake of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of astrology considering it a planet, it is still considered an influential celestial body in astrology. In addition to the planets themselves that orbit around the sun, we also have our very own moon that orbits around the Earth. Now, this is going to factor into the zodiac later as well. So far we have the solar system itself with the sun and the 9 planets and Earth's moon. The next aspect of the zodiac that we take into consideration is the Earth's rotation on its own axis. So we're not talking about the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Now we're talking about how it rotates on its own axis, and the axis is connected via the North and the South Pole. And it's at a tilt like so. I'll have pictures right here to help you vision it better. And it rotates, okay? And this is what creates the days that we have, and so on and so forth. That creates day and night. And then the orbit is what creates a year. The next aspect that is taken into consideration for the zodiac are the constellations. So we have billions and billions and billions of stars in our solar system as well. And these stars obviously are known to form popular constellations. As of right now, there's a total of 88, but the zodiac only focuses on 12 of the 88 constellations. Now, why is that? So these 12 constellations of the zodiac signs that we focus on is because throughout history in ancient times, it was believed to have meant something that the sun passed through each of these zodiac signs. So if you were to look at the sun rising, like say you're staring at the sun rising, and you know that a certain constellation is right there in front of you, and the sun at that time of year passes behind that constellation. That is why these zodiac's constellations are the ones that are factored into the zodiac. So I'll go ahead and list those zodiac constellations for you. We have Aries the ram, Taurus the bull, Gemini the twins, Cancer the crab, Leo the lion, Virgo the virgin, Libra the scales, Scorpio the scorpion, Sagittarius the archer, Capricorn the goat, Aquarius the water bear, and lastly we have Pisces the fish. So these each have their own constellation that belongs to them that we take into account for the zodiac. So now let's move into the next part, where how does this all translate onto a birth chart? So we know that we take into account the 9 planets that orbit around the sun in our solar system. We take into account the Earth's moon that orbits around the Earth. We take into account the Earth's rotation on its own axis via the North and South Pole. And we also know that we take into account 12 of the 88 constellations that the sun passes throughout the year. So how does this translate onto a birth chart? So let's imagine that we are floating above our solar system and we can see everything from an aerial view. The moment that you come out of the womb, somebody takes a snapshot of the solar system when you're born. That is essentially a birth chart, okay? Because the birth chart is simply showing where every planet was, celestial body, constellation, where everything was located at the time that you were born. Side note, I will be releasing my next video on how to read a birth chart. So we won't go into too much of the details here about a birth chart, but if you want to learn more, be sure that you are subscribing and hitting the bell notifications so you know when that video comes out. As I said, I'm not going to go into too much of the specifics of the birth chart, but we can talk a little bit about the structure so you understand the general makeup of the birth chart and what it means. So on the outer rim of the birth chart, you will see the zodiac symbols. So it's broken into 12 sections, each section dedicated to a specific zodiac constellation. Each zodiac sign has a specific element that belongs to it. So the 4 elements that each zodiac sign can belong to are earth, fire, water, and air. The zodiac signs can also be broken into specific qualities. The 3 qualities that the zodiac signs can belong to are mutable, cardinal, and fixed. And just like they have an element and a quality, they can also be broken further down into whether the sign is masculine or feminine. Furthermore, I know this gets really deep, that's why I'm not focusing on the specifics here, but furthermore, each zodiac sign also has a ruling planet that influences that zodiac's energy greatly. On top of that, we also have 12 houses on the birth chart. So usually these are represented more on the inwards part of the birth chart, but there are 12 houses and each house represents something different. Now, keep in mind, houses are not the same as the zodiac signs just because there's 12 of them. The houses are actually directly linked to the Earth's rotation on its axis that we talked about earlier. But again, I'm not going to go too in depth. But all of these factors combined contribute very heavily to how each zodiac is and the qualities that you have that are noted on your birth chart. Make sure that you like this video if you've already learned something new and are excited to learn even more. Comment below what you've learned so far and what you're most excited about learning. And be sure that you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out on future astrology videos as well, including that birth chart one. Okay, now moving into the really fun part. So first off, you have probably heard the term rising sign before. Am I right? And you're probably wondering what the heck that is. So the actual technical term for that is your ascendant sign. And the reason that it's called the ascendant sign is because it is the constellation, the zodiac constellation, that the sun was rising through at the moment you were born. So imagine you see the horizon. So this is the horizon. This is the horizon, and this is the sun. So the sun is slowly rising over the horizon at the time you were born. And there's a constellation here that the sun is passing through as it is rising above the horizon. So hopefully my arm example helped you visualize. I don't know. But you might be wondering, it was nighttime when I was born, or it was noon, or the sun was already in the air, or whatever. But remember, it is a different time zone everywhere in the world, and somewhere in the world, the sun is rising. Okay, so keep that in mind. So for example, my rising sign is Taurus. So what that means for me is at the moment I was born, when the sun was looming over the horizon, it was passing through the Taurus constellation. So what does your rising sign mean? So your rising sign basically governs how others may perceive you upon first meeting you. So your first impressions on someone. So for example, I, again, have a rising sign in Taurus. And I've had many people in the past think that when they first see me or first talk to me briefly, they think I'm kind of like a princess because I care about the way that I look. I I'm not passionate about makeup like that, but I like doing my makeup nice. I like looking like I'm well kept and professional as well. So I would get that impression. But then when somebody gets to know me, they realize I don't really care very much about too many materialistic items in the world. But Tauruses are known for being materialistic. So that means that upon their first impression, it'd be understandable if they think I'm a Taurus or have qualities of a Taurus. Next, we're talking about the sun sign. So the sun sign is considered the most important sign in your chart simply because of the fact it's ruled by the sun, which is the most powerful piece of our entire solar system. Everything revolves around it, right? So your sun sign is a sign you would tell people when people ask, what's your sign? It's simply where the sun was shining at the time you were born, and I will insert an example right here so you can see that the sun was shining in the direction of that zodiac constellation at the time that person was born, for example. So what do sun signs represent? What do they mean? So your sun sign basically represents the goals that you have in life, what you desire for yourself, and how you go about accomplishing them. For example, my sun sign is Pisces. So I may really want to have a certain path in my life. A lot of Pisces like to go for something caregiving or loving or spiritual or all those things combined. But the way that they achieve them is probably going to be through a spiritual path of enlightenment. They might be very ambitious, but the way that they carry out their ambition is going to be very different from how another sign might. So let's go ahead and consider a Capricorn, for example. So Capricorns are known to be extremely driven by financial security, by worldly success in general, and Capricorns are also known to achieve their goals by challenging themselves, putting themselves through really difficult obstacles, almost torturing themselves so they can persevere through it all and come out on top where they would love to be. Now, you can just tell by my two examples that the way a Pisces carries themselves and the way a Capricorn carries themselves are going to be very different. Next, we have my personal favorite, which is moon signs. And the reason that this is my favorite is because I feel that it covers the most about any person. Every time I find somebody's moon sign and we talk about it, they're always amazed at how much they connect to it. Your moon sign is just based on where the moon was located at the time you were born. For example, my moon sign was located in the Gemini constellation at the time I was born. I know, I have a Pisces sun and a Gemini moon. I got like 4 different personalities in here. So what does your moon sign mean and what does it represent? So your moon sign basically represents your deepest emotional desires and needs. So a good way to look at it, a good kind of phrase to keep in your mind, your sun sign represents what you want in life, whereas your moon sign represents what you truly need. So it might be your deepest desires that you don't really express to other people unless they know you really well. And it can also explain why you tend to react to certain situations the way that you do. And this is extreme generalization. Your whole chart matters, but this is just for example purposes. Pisces are typically known to be a bit of a softer, more emotional sign and maybe crybabies, if you will. But say that I'm a Pisces, but I find that I'm not a crybaby. I have like a rock hard spirit and I have more of a fiery temper than anything. More than crying, I have a massive temper. Now, so I might wonder, like, I don't really connect to Pisces on an emotional level. You know, I don't react like that. I don't cry and stuff. Then you find that your moon sign is an Aries or something, which is ruled by Mars, which rules aggression. And Aries are known to be more aggressive and temperamental. Again, generalizing. But that's to show you the two extremes. And the moon sign explains to you why you may not connect as much to your sun sign, since it controls your emotional nature. Congratulations! Now you can go out and spread your own astrology knowledge and seem more like the astrology pro in your friend group. Am I right? It was a lot to take in and you still don't understand some things. totally fine. There's a lot to learn, but that's what I'm here for. Again, be sure that you like this video if it helped you learn something. Be sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can learn even more about astrology in future videos that I'm coming out with. And also be sure that you join the Facebook group if you enjoyed this video. I will have the link in the description to the Lotus community on Facebook, and it will have positivity, law of attraction, and astrology, crystals, all that fun stuff if you like that. I'm so excited to see you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Adios.